Hi, I'm Gretchen Martens with the Scholars Coach, and for more than 10 years, I've been working with doctoral candidates and people in academia, really practitioner scholars. And I've noticed how they struggle. There are these questions about, I'm done, what comes next? How do I create impact? And then this real sense of isolation, a sense of, I want to start a consulting business and I don't know how to do that. And so, anyway, I got into a conversation a couple of weeks ago with Kris, who I'm going to let introduce himself in just a sec. And it led to this idea for Practice Partners Collective. And so, I want to let Kris introduce himself, and then we'll talk a little bit about what that vision is.
Thanks, Gretchen. Hi, I'm Kris. I am a clinical professor at NYU in the program for ed leadership and administration and policy and advocacy. I am also the program director there. But I was a K-12 person most of my career up until about 5 years ago. So I think I've done everything in the K-12 space from custodian to assistant superintendent. I'm grateful to be in conversation with you and be here today, and just happy to be with you.
Well, and what really struck me on our conversation last week, this project actually goes back 2 years with a different scholar practitioner. And for a variety of reasons, it just didn't move forward. But back in the day, we were talking about, oh, let's create a collaborative consulting group. And
Mm.
you really shifted that into, what we need as a community that happens to do consulting and other things. And the word you use, or the phrase you use that really, really struck me was safe harbor. And I'm wondering if you
Mm.
could just say a little bit more about that and, your own experiences with the isolation that can come after you've finished a doctoral degree, your cohort isn't there, maybe a PLC isn't there, a Nick isn't there, and you're kind of like, where is everybody?
I think after I finished my doctorate degree, I don't think I was not clinically diagnosed with any sort of diagnosis, but I felt this sense of despair, almost like, what do I do? What do I do now? Because you spend so much time with your dissertation and your just your own thoughts and your cohort, if you're fortunate to have one. Um, and then it's kind of like, now what? And there's not this like this like balloons dropping down on you all the time and you celebratory thing.
Mhm.
It was a strange feeling, I think, for a while. And But knowing I wanted to do something, and knowing I needed to like, you know, get back out there and start writing or consulting, and just not being quite sure how to do that. And I think it feels lonely. It definitely felt isolating at times. Even in community, I've been fortunate to have folks around me, and those are the places where I felt most at ease and most safe, and safe to sort of dream and to think out loud, and just to ask questions and that kind of thing. And I can't imagine what it would have been like without just some level of community and people, these people there for me. Um, so it is in thinking about this work and the ideas sort of that we've bounced back and forth. I think providing a safe harbor, providing that place where folks can just ask questions of each other, find out what's going on in the consulting world, what the landscape is, if there's any leads. I also can't tell you how many times, and you probably know this too, but how many times I've met with a colleague or a friend in this work, and we leave it like, oh, we need to write an article together. Let's put something out there, right? And then never happens. So just a place for that too, for us to really begin to generate ideas together and write together and pursue RFPs together and that kind of thing.
Well, and I remember you had the phrase that just made me laugh. You're like, yeah, I'd send out these weird emails, which I wonder if you could say a little about that because that also so resonated when I've been trying to pull projects together.
Yeah, I mean, you're just sending out like I definitely sent out. Then this is embarrassing to admit, but I actually would send out my full dissertation to random strangers. Like, hey, we share the same interest. Read my dissertation, which is a little embarrassing to admit now, but and something I probably would never do, having been on that side of it. But um, yeah, and just sending out random emails to different districts, and if you're responding to an RFP, or even you want to write an article with somebody, it feels like you're kind of just sending stuff into the abyss, um, until people begin to know you, and you really develop this level, this like network of folks. Without that, it feels like you're just kind of awkwardly sending
Yeah.
things out, and it's humbling for sure. Um, but also it can be frustrating and isolating, and can lead to this level of like you begin to sort of question yourself and your expertise, and that's not what we should be doing. But I think a lot of my colleagues have felt that way to different degrees.
Yeah, and I have to say that conversation that we had, particularly last week, again, it so shifted my thinking because it's like what I heard was it's not that practitioner scholars need a website or they need business building skills or they need a collaborative consulting firm. What I kept hearing from you and conversations with other clients is the need for a professional home and the need for belonging. And that piece so resonates because a lot of people know me as Gretchen the editor. Like that could be a really bad movie on some, random TV station, but I'm also a practitioner scholar. And so, that I know that piece of it in a different arena. And so it just struck me like that sense of belonging. And, whether we're in kindergarten or the superintendency, right? We want to belong. We want to have people around us. And I got to thinking too, this is different from, oh, I'm a principal and we have staff meetings because the people that are in the room are practitioners, but they're not scholars. And it may be some of what you find at NYU, that you have this whole department. I'm at a university, but not all scholars are practitioners. And so what hit me is that practitioner scholars have really unique needs. And I think, tell me if you agree that this is really the gap that Practice
Yeah,
Partners Collective fills.
absolutely. I mean, that's what sort of has drawn me to it, and made me really excited about this idea, and this place of like collective safety. So, as educators, sometimes we're so used to doing things as individuals, and I think we
Mhm.
conditioned to do that, um, and it's just not really helpful for advancing our own work, and advancing the work of education. So many of my colleagues and myself, when we all sort of talk, a lot of times we say we just want to do the work. Like
Mhm.
we are interested in making this happen, but don't know who to talk to, where to go, where to even publish, what conferences to look out for. Um, and you kind of are just like, okay, well, plus you have the burden or the good fortune of your own 9 to 5, your own
Yeah.
place of work, right? You are doing work there daily. So it's hard to know, like, well, where do I publish? How do I find time to do that? Where should I go for presentations? And at least me, I had a sense that I wanted to do those things, but didn't know where to do them, who to talk to, and really probably became a burden to my own friends, and just was fortunate to be able to talk to them. And I was constantly bothering them, like, "Hey, how do I do this consulting thing?" Or where do I? And just was fortunate that they were gracious with me. But if you don't have that, and if you also don't want to keep bothering your friends about that stuff, like it's probably good just to have a really built-in community, that you collectively are supporting each other, sharing ideas, sharing information, with the understanding that you're not doing this alone. That there are other people out there who want to do the same kind of work as you, and maybe just as confused or lost, and you can support each other through this process, and finding leads and all that stuff. Because it can feel, I know when I first left the K-12 space and went to NYU, uh, I don't know exactly what I expected, but it definitely, but definitely there was feelings of, like, oh wow, those feelings of isolation were still there a little bit. Um, and it can feel intimidating because now you're in a space of where there are folks who only do research or who mostly do research, and that's their wheelhouse. They know what they're doing. They know how to get these grants. They know how to where to publish, which journals to go to, all that stuff. So it is. Uh, I have found it helpful to connect and collaborate with like-minded um, practitioner scholars who are interested in continuing to do the work that they're doing and also making an impact on the field, because so often the work that we're doing in schools is profound and should get out there.
Well, and that for me is one of my big whys is that,
Mm.
for 10 years, I've worked with these amazing doctoral scholars. Um, a lot of them are in education and they do this work that they were passionate about. And then your dissertation gets uploaded to ProQuest and it just sits there in this digital archive. And I kept thinking, oh my gosh, and I come from a family of educators. It's like this needs to get out there. Um, so I wanted to ask you a question too, because last time I showed you the prototype for the logo for Practice Partners Collective, and
Yeah.
also the word collective seemed to really resonate with you. So
Mhm.
I'm wondering if you can say a little bit about that, and maybe in terms of some of the more tangible, things that we talked about, which is very open as the community comes together. But what was that grabbed you about the collective and the work that the collective could do together?
Yeah. I shudder at the thought of trying to do this work individually and alone. And I also don't think educational progress and the work of critical pragmatism that one of my colleagues, Dr. Um, Brandy Hannah Crawford, has termed. I don't know if that work is meant to be done alone in any way. And actually, we're so much more effective when we're doing this collectively and in community with each other, and not just because it helps us. Like I think there's that part. I'm sure that was appealing to folks, but also because it's a chance to help others and to help others in our field and to push the work forward. And even if there's not an immediate like, oh yeah, this is going to directly benefit me. Now we're helping each other, and it becomes this really strong collective of educators who are working towards the same goal, and continuing the work of educational improvement.
Awesome. So, we have some short videos that we're going to be putting up on our YouTube channel that kind of gives some more details about how we're envisioning this unfolding. There's also a downloadable prospectus that you're going to see below this
Mm.
video. But I'm also wondering, we discussed a bunch of the moving parts of the collective, like, beyond community, people have practical realities and that really resonates with me as well, that people want to create impact, but they also want to plan for, stay active after retirement. Of course,
Yeah.
there are bills to pay and dreams to fulfill. And so I'm wondering, what parts of the specifics you've mentioned, some of, consulting gigs and RFPs, and how do you see this being of value, sort of in that realm, in a more concrete realm for people?
Yeah, it is. It is. I don't know if it's impossible, but it's nearly impossible, I think, to pursue consulting or consulting gigs or RFPs or to support school districts meaningfully, totally on your own. It just is better to do this together. And uh, there, so much of this is built on relationships in the world of education and sort of getting into places in that way. So I think that is sort of the practical application behind this is not only can we help each other with writing and talking through ideas and almost like a salon style of
Mhm.
like, we can share these sort of big ideas and thoughts and research and articles and that sort of thing. But also the practical part of it. When we go into schools as consultants or as a way to support a school or a school district, um, I think going in with our collective knowledge together is much more powerful and impactful than if we just did this individually. Um, yeah, it has those projects that I have worked on with a group of folks have been much more fulfilling to me
Hmm.
and also I think to the school district. So um, yeah, that's very appealing.
Well, and I think, what you pointed to, the value of relationship and where
Mm.
relationships expand. You may know someone that somebody else doesn't, but I think also the value of the collective, that if someone goes to the website, which now is very slimmed down, it's a like minimally viable product. But they see all these people, and it's all of a sudden it's not, oh, this isn't one person working on their own. This is this collective of very skilled people with a lot of experience as principals and district people and superintendents and people at universities and people that have degrees in research behind them. So that's been one of my own thoughts of the value of collective branding if I'm going to get into the business world. So last question, because I know we don't want this video to go on for too long, but I'm just thinking, if someone is watching this and thinking, oh man, this sounds good. I've really been looking for something like this for a while. What would you say to them?
Hit us up. Find out what's going. Reach out. Yeah, I would say jump in. Just if you're curious, it would be great just to talk. Even if you end up not really getting involved in this, I'm all about. I think both of us collectively are all about continuing to develop those relationships and getting to know people and talking to folks, and especially in this world of education. So really, I mean, jokingly, saying reach out, but also reach out. Like I think that would be really great, and let's just talk about it further. Because it's I do think a point you made earlier about like that those relationship building pieces, and who you know and getting to know folks, and not only does it expand your own way of thinking, and your own belief sets and all of that, but also it serves in some ways as like and you'll know more about this than I do, but I think it serves in some ways as like a voucher system, like you like and not in a private school sense or charter school sense, but I mean like you vouch for me and I vouch for you, and
Yeah.
that that can go far, I think, because folks may not know Kris, but they know Gretchen, so they're like, oh well, if they're sort of co-signing on each other, then then it becomes this sort of like built-in recommendation. That definitely helps a lot. So I would say reach out and learn more and visit the website and um, all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and just a last note on the reaching out, because I know in what, another week or 10 days, you're going on an epic vacation. So you'll also like I'm sort of the placeholder because I'm not traveling in the next few weeks. But for those of you watching, for those of you that know Kris, that know me, thank you for taking a look at this. And if you don't know either of us and you're kind of like, I'd like to learn more, please do reach out because that's what we're here for. And we hope you'll take a deeper look. And if this feels like a good professional home, we'd be really, really honored to have you join us. So thank you so much for your time and have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you're watching this.